All right, welcome everybody to the Team Wiz podcast. My name is Marty, and I'm here with Kyle. You can find him on Twitter at DFS_WizKyle, and I'm also here with Pat. You can find him at DFS_WizP. How we doing tonight, guys?
Good.
I'm great, fellas. Ready to get some NFL action. Tired of this baseball.
Definitely. All right, so we're going to go over week 3 tonight of the NFL slate. What we're going to do is we're going to go over our cash plays for the week. What we're trying to do is we're trying to create some lineups here for you guys and give you some plays that you can enter in to win some money on a week-to-week basis. So we're going to do something a little bit different this week. We're not going to go through every single game. We'll go through most games, but if there's some games where we just really don't feel there's a cash play in it, we might just kind of skip over it. But what I'd like to suggest is that if you guys have any questions, and if there's some player you're questioning about that we didn't talk about, in your upper right-hand corner, there's going to be what looks like a Rubik's Cube. Click on that, and you'll be able to throw in some questions in our Q&A, and we'll be glad to go ahead and answer those for you. So with that, I think we should go ahead and get started. First question I have for you guys is, for the Thursday night game, we have Washington versus the New York Giants. Do you guys even look at this game for a cash game? Do you play the Thursday, Sunday cash games?
I do not. I personally do not. And I've heard it's a good theory to you play a GPP and fade all the guys from the Thursday night games because they would be, highly owned in anticipation that those games, would be low scoring. But that hasn't been the case. The first two Thursday night games have been super high scoring, and lots of guys have gone off. If I do play a Thursday through Sunday GPP, I might, pick a few of my favorite plays just for that game, just kind of cherry pick a couple guys and then build that around maybe, the rest of my GPP or cash lineup and, see if I can't win some big money.
I'm with you guys here. I fade Thursday night games, just too much time in between Sunday. But if I had to pick a couple guys, it would be on the New York Giants side of the ball, and then the Washington running back. The Giants are weak against the run. His name's not coming to mind. Jones?
Matt Jones.
Matt Jones, yeah.
Matt Jones.
Definitely use him in a GPP this week.
Yeah, definitely on board with that. So we're going to go ahead and kind of skip through that game, but looking to the next game on the slate, we have Pittsburgh versus St. Louis. And Pittsburgh lit up the 49ers last week, so I'm embarrassed to even wear this hat for the way they performed. But what do you guys think about this game?
Man, both of these defenses have looked terrible. They were supposed to be good, so I'm kind of having mixed feelings for this game. But I do like some Ben Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown here. What about you, Pat?
I actually, on the surface, I didn't see a whole lot. Just the big plays, the Roethlisberger, the Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, like you said. But I dug a little deeper last night after we had our initial conversation, and I found that Pittsburgh's secondary is the worst in the league versus quarterbacks and wide receivers.
But who are you using? There's nobody.
Exactly. You're not going to roll, any of the St. Louis wide receivers out in a cash game, but Nick Foles is very, very cheap around the industry, and the Steelers are favored here by 1.5 points. So that kind of makes me think it's only a 47.5 over/under. I'm not really paying attention to the over/under. That makes me think they're going to be able to keep it close, and this game might be more of a shootout than it could be. I'm not going to try to speculate game flow here, but just based on this price alone and Pittsburgh being 32nd, dead last in the NFL versus wide receivers and QBs, Nick Foles is kind of interesting.
As well as Jared Cook. Jared Cook's interesting, too.
They are dead last against tight ends. Yep, dead last against tight ends, and he is he's bare minimum around the industry for a tight end.
That had a lot to do with Gronk, but still.
Yeah,
they're not great against the tight end.
Yeah, and then also too, the St. Louis defense, they're 30th in the league against the run. So this is Le'Veon Bell's first game back. D'Angelo Williams has been doing really well in that role, so it might be a good week to slide in Le'Veon Bell to play against a bad defense, I should say.
Yeah, I actually read today on RotoWorld where Bell was kind of upset that the Steelers coaches plan to still use D'Angelo Williams a little bit just to give Bell a breather every third or fourth series. But Bell does not like to come off the field. He's always been a carry and target monster. In the past couple of years, he's had upwards of 35 targets and touches in a game. I don't really see him getting there, but I do see him wanting to, kind of come back. He's fresh and just establish himself this week. So he's not, too overly priced just yet, and the St. Louis defense is not as threatening as we thought. They've allowed a lot of points the first 2 weeks. So I would definitely, be all over Bell or Antonio Brown. I definitely wouldn't put them in the same lineup because that kind of negates each other. If one does good, the other one kind of does not. So if Pittsburgh's throwing a lot, that means they're not running a lot. So,
what about Williams and Brown last week, though?
Yeah, that's true. Browns, their consistency. I have Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell in my season-long league, and week to week they carry me. So those two are probably the only exception to that rule.
Yeah, I love Le'Veon Bell as well this week. I could see him looking to come in and try to prove why he's the number one running back with how good Williams did. So I love that play.
Yeah, definitely. So play your Steelers this week. Next game we have on the slate looks like it's going to be San Diego versus Minnesota. So, Pat, anybody liking this game?
Yes, actually, depending on what site you're playing on, this might be a DraftKings or even a Yahoo specific play, but I saw that Danny Woodhead gets almost 60% of the Chargers' red zone touches. Other than that, he gets 40% of their backfield touches. So, based on his price on DraftKings, and he's also very cheap on a site like Yahoo, PPR makes for a great play. It's 4,400. I don't see how you could go wrong.
Yeah, love some Woodhead. Not quite as much on FanDuel, where you don't get a full point PPR. He's a little more expensive on FanDuel as well. On FanDuel, though, I like the other side of the ball on Teddy Bridgewater. Only 6,800. He's one of the most efficient quarterbacks dating from now back to halfway through last year. I think he's top 5 in efficiency. He doesn't have extremely high ceiling, but he does have a high floor, which we like in our quarterbacks. And he's cheap. He's going to get you that 15 to 20 points.
Yeah, definitely. And putting him into your lineup obviously frees up some space to get some bigger name either receivers or running backs on the board. So that could be a good play.
Yeah, I think going back to that last game, Pittsburgh-St. Louis, if you're looking at a Nick Foles versus a Teddy Bridgewater, I would think that with Teddy's efficiency makes him a safer, more of a cash game play. Foles has the propensity to fumble and turn the ball over occasionally and just crack under pressure. Even though he is cheap and opens up quite a bit, he might be more of a GPP quarterback. I could see him putting up a huge game where he might have a higher ceiling, but Teddy's just got a safe floor. Like you said, he actually is the most efficient quarterback so far this year. So that's pretty crazy thinking about all the other quarterbacks around the league. So
yeah, he's not passing quite as much as the others, but still,
he's not going to kill you.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. All right, and then moving on to Tampa Bay and Houston. Do we have anybody who want to go over in this game?
I also like Adrian Peterson on the Minnesota side. They are slight favorites. San Diego is bottom 5 versus the run. Peterson carried the ball, was it almost 28 times last week?
26.
26, yeah. So
31 touches overall, if you count the pass.
Yeah. So he makes for a great play. So, you can't go wrong with Peterson, Bell, just kind of build your cash game and see whichever one of those guys fit in.
Good one. All right, moving on to Tampa Bay and Houston. You guys have anybody you want to go over on that one?
Oh, man. Not me. I could maybe see using one of the Tampa Bay wide receivers just because Houston's been giving up a lot of passing yards, but Not loving it with Winston at the quarterback.
Me either. I'll pass on that one.
All right, yeah, so we'll pass on that one. Again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to throw them into the Q&A, and we'll be happy to answer them later on. Moving on to the next game, we have Philadelphia versus the New York Jets. This should be an interesting one. What do you guys think about this one?
Man, after playing Bradford for the first 2 weeks, I love the Jets defense. That guy, the Water Boy. His new name's the Water Boy.
Yeah.
He looks just like Adam Sandler in that movie too. But he's been turning the ball over every game. The Jets, I mean, you saw what they did to Andrew Luck. Sam Bradford's not half the quarterback as Luck. It's definitely a risky play, as the Philadelphia offense is, they could score it on any play, honestly. But the Jets defense is good. I think their price went down on FanDuel. At 4,500, they're definitely in play for me.
Yeah, we'd like to take our defenses at home in a game that they're favored, and this is the first game that Vegas has come out and not like the Eagles to win. So they're kind of buying into what Kyle was saying about Sam Bradford being the water boy. I really don't think it's all on Sam. I think their offensive line has some troubles. You guys watched DeMarco Murray last week. The Dallas Cowboys ate him alive. He got 11 yards rushing total on the year. Eli Manning has more running yards than DeMarco Murray this year. Eli Manning,
he looks so scared back there, and I don't know if it has to do with the offensive line, like you said, but there are some passes where he had receivers wide open last week where he just underthrew them, and it you didn't even know who he was throwing to.
Yeah,
but besides for him, the other side of the ball, one of my favorite receiver plays, Brandon Marshall. I love him this week.
Yeah, you got to keep your eye on to see if Eric Decker is going to play or not. He has a PCL strain. PCL strain. I'm not sure what part of the knee that is, but I read that today. So it sounds a little bit more serious than it could be. He's going to be out, a week, maybe two, possibly. He himself said that he would be ready to play this week, but if he is out, that makes Brandon Marshall a target monster. And with the weakness of the Philadelphia corners, we saw them get burnt like toast the first 2 weeks. I'm all over Brandon Marshall, and I would actually roll out Ryan Fitzpatrick as well in a GPP because, again, he's cheap. He's actually cheaper than Nick Foles on a couple sites. And the Philadelphia Eagles defense is better versus the run, so they're going to have to open up the pass. That leaves Fitzpatrick to Marshall all day long.
Yeah, I love Marshall whether Decker is in or out. Brandon Marshall's getting almost 8 targets a game, which I love.
Yeah, people forget about him now because he came over from Chicago and he was a beast in Chicago, one of Jay Cutler's favorite targets, and then Alshon Jeffrey came over. Just because he went to put on a nasty green Jets uniform doesn't make him a worse player. He's still a great wide receiver.
Yeah, definitely.
I think if anything's telling, like last week I was high on Marshall until I realized Vontae Davis would be on him, and then I was high on Decker. But even with Vontae Davis on him for a good portion of the game, Marshall still had 7 catches for 101 yards and touchdowns. So I think he's a great play. He's low priced. He has 19 targets over the last 2 weeks, and he's going against a horrible defense. I think it's a great play this week.
Yeah, great red zone target as well. 10 targets a game. You can't beat that. It's a great cash game play, especially at his price. He's fairly cheap on FanDuel. I don't know about DraftKings or anywhere else, but
he's mid-range. Great price, great matchup. That's what you want for your cash games play, guys, is opportunities, touches, targets, opportunities. Look for those guys that are getting the ball in their hands, or getting the ball thrown their way. That way you can increase your floor and your ceiling and increase your chances of cashing out, guys.
All right, moving on. We have now New Orleans versus Carolina. What do you guys think about this game?
This game's one of my favorite games to target here. It's only a 44 over-under, but I like it more than that. Some plays for me are Cam Newton and Jonathan Stewart on the Carolina side of the ball. The other side of the ball, I could see using some Drew Brees. And
if he
nobody
plays.
really else on that side.
There's still Drew Brees is, as of today, was getting a second opinion on the shoulder. He had one MRI done. It came back and it said it was just a deep shoulder bruise. He's getting a second opinion on it. That has yet to come back. As far as I checked this afternoon around 3 o'clock Central Time, so I haven't heard anything since then. So if he plays, yeah, I could see using him from behind. That Carolina defense is nasty. I'm not going near that just with the way that their offensive line and their organization just looks like they're just throwing in the towel. I don't know what they're doing down there, trading away some of their biggest players. And Rob Ryan is the defensive coordinator. He is the redheaded stepchild of the family. Buddy and Rex, I love. Rob is just a terrible, terrible defensive coordinator. So with that, knowing that he's such a terrible defensive coordinator and the New Orleans Saints have a terrible defense versus quarterbacks and running backs, I'm all over, like you said, Cam Newton.
Yeah, definitely. I like Jonathan Stewart quite a bit this week. I mean, he's only 6,500 on FanDuel. The Saints are the 24th worst team for a run defense, so I could see him having a pretty good game there. And initially I was kind of off Cam Newton just because of his history in the past and whatnot. But looking into it, the fact that he's priced really low on FanDuel, he's only 7,900. And the fact that last week he had 10 carries for 76 yards and a touchdown, meaning he's running the ball a little bit more, especially going against a bad run defense. He's actually a pretty good play this week.
Yeah, did you guys get a chance to watch any of the Carolina game last week?
A little bit.
Yeah, I went back.
We watched a little bit.
Yeah, I went back and watched a lot of the replays, actually. They are running the college read option with Cam Newton and Jonathan Stewart quite a bit, and I love it. It's opening up all sorts of things. Cam, I mean, he ran it at Auburn. It's just natural to him. So that makes Jonathan Stewart and Cam a great 1-2 combo. Usually, you don't like to pair your quarterback and running back together, but when you're in an option offense in the NFL, I mean, take it. One of them is guaranteed to get a touchdown for sure against this defense. So why not?
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on to Jacksonville versus New England. Obviously, New England's done a great job of scoring the ball here. This is a game where they're favored by 13 and a half points. So Vegas is projecting them to be winning by quite a bit. We'll get to New England in a second, but I think from the Jacksonville side of the ball, with New England expected to be up by quite a bit, probably they're gonna have to Jacksonville's gonna have to pass quite a bit. So I like Allen Robinson here. He's priced low at 6,600. Last week he had 6 receptions for 155 yards and 2 touchdowns. Could be a pretty good play to fit in your lineup, especially if you're trying to target one of the big name receivers like Brown or Thomas or whatnot.
Definitely. The Patriots are actually playing at one of the fastest pace so far this season. They're giving up a lot of yards through the air. So, yeah, I definitely love some Allen Robinson. He's got talent. If he was playing anywhere else with a better quarterback, his price would be a lot higher.
Mm-hmm.
On the other side of the ball, though, I like Julian Edelman. 31 targets so far this year. That's 15 per game. Just insane. And a lot of them are red zone targets. I think he has 4 red zone targets already. It's crazy. He's a great cash game play.
He leads the league in red zone targets. But like Marty said, the other side of the ball, the Jacksonville side of the ball, Blake Bortles and Allen Robinson combination is one of my favorite GPP plays of the week. Going to be a lot of garbage time. I see, New England getting to an early lead out against this defense. I would not hesitate to stack a few Jaguars in a GPP. TJ Yeldon is a true third down back. He's getting all of the work. There's not too many of running backs this day in the NFL that's getting all 3 downs of the work and all the series to themselves. Mainly a lot of these rookies that you see, the Carlos Hydes, the Tevin Coleman before he got injured, and TJ Yeldon as well. So I would not hesitate to roll out that trio of Yeldon, Robinson, and Bortles in the GPP.
I can't believe you just said stack the Jaguars.
I know, man.
Hear that right?
Yep, I know.
Only week 3, and you're having to stack the Jaguars.
I'm glad you said that, but I couldn't believe it when I wrote it down and was thinking it earlier. I was like, really? But I mean, for a GPP, garbage time, they're going to be low owned, and they're probably going to put up some points. Blake Bortles has been pretty efficient this year so far. He's looked a lot better, a lot more accurate. He's only turned the ball over a few times as opposed to last year where he turned it over all the time. So why not take a stab at him on a GPP?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, the only other thing I want to point out in this game is that Gronk is obviously a great play. It's Gronk, but some people look at his salary at $8,400 on FanDuel and they'll say, that's really expensive for a tight end. I gotta look for somebody less than that. But if you actually look at his production is a number 1 receiver's production. I mean, I think he's at the top as far as targets, receptions, touchdowns.
He's outperforming the top wide receivers.
Exactly. So don't be afraid to put him in your lineups, and maybe save a little salary somewhere else. Maybe at the wide receiver, there's some good gems at lower price. So don't be afraid to put Gronk in your lineups.
Very safe play.
All right. Anything else from this game?
Not for me.
All right. Moving on, we have Cincinnati and Baltimore. I don't really have a great play in this game. I kind of like Bernard just because of his production. It looks like he may have won the job over from Jeremy Hill, and his price is so low. But Baltimore defense seems to be pretty good, so I don't think it's a great play, but might be something if you have a little extra salary to fit in. You might get a good amount of carries. So, anything you guys like from this one?
I like Tyler Eifert just for his price. He's a highly targeted tight end, but Baltimore is tough on the defensive side, so I'm not too in love with him. But
you say that, and Derek Carr in Oakland put up a lot of points against him last week.
Yeah, I know, and then the Broncos couldn't. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's those divisional games, man.
Yeah.
Cincinnati and Baltimore, they're very familiar with each other. This game could be 6-3 as well as it could be 42-35. I mean, it's these divisional games. They're tough to predict. These teams know each other very well. Supposedly good defenses. Cincinnati's been allowing a lot of rushing yards here lately, but you just don't know which running back to count on for the Ravens. I played Justin Forsett in cash last week. I think he had 16 carries, and then in the red zone they put in Talaferio to vulture him for a touchdown. And I'm tired of being vultured. I won't let it happen again, so I'm just staying away.
I do like Taliaferro though for some GPP. He's cheap. Absolutely. And he has multiple touchdown potential. A lot of times last year. He took a couple touchdowns from Forsett, had multiple TD games.
Yep.
Well, what about Gilmore, who's been putting on a show so far this year? I'm not buying it, but the numbers are there.
I'm not sure what Baltimore ranks versus the tight end. I know they supposedly have a better run defense than pass defense, so he could make for a great play because who else are the Ravens going to throw it to? I mean, Torrey Smith's going to run as fast as he can down the field so he can drop the ball, and then they have Old Man Rivers, Steve Smith, as their most reliable target. So that leaves you Crockett, Davy Crockett Gilmore.
All right. So moving on to the next game, we have Oakland versus Cleveland. And Pat, I think you have a favorite play in this game. Is that right?
Oakland and Cleveland? I'll love me some Michael Crabtree.
Yeah.
He's 4,600 on DraftKings. He's been one of the most targeted wide receivers. Let me look at this. How many targets he's got? Kyle said earlier, Julian Edelman had 31. Crabtree has had 12 targets a game. 24 total targets, 7 less than Julian Edelman. I feel like I told the guys before the show started that I jumped in Back to the Future, the DeLorean, and went back in time when we were discussing some of our favorite plays like Larry Fitzgerald, Jonathan Stewart. We even dropped a D'Angelo Williams and a Michael Crabtree. I felt like we went back to 2009 here, and we're picking, favorite plays. But, teams, I guess, have been keying in on their other receiver.
Cooper.
Yeah, Amari Cooper. I'm guessing teams have been keying in on Cooper. They really don't have any outstanding tight ends, so that leaves Crabtree finally coming up and showing what he, was drafted in this league to do by your 49ers.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Yep, we can hear you now. The other thing I was going to say about that as well is Joe Hayden will probably be on Amari Cooper, so that opens it up even more for Crabtree this week.
Yeah, exactly. Going back to the Eric Decker play last week, same scenario. Joe Hayden on Cooper. Crabtree's going to get all them targets. He's a great red zone target. He's got a big body. I love him this week. One of my favorite plays. Super cheap, too.
Yeah, if you guys don't already follow Adam Schefter on Twitter, go ahead and give him a follow because he will definitely tweet out the latest coverages, who's covering who, and as well as Adam Levitan. And there was one other person that I follow that I can't remember right now that is very quick to tweet out the respective coverages. So
get to know who the beat reporters are, too, for each team. Give them a follow. Make a list on Twitter of the beat reporters. Those are some great follows for any sport.
Yeah,
yep.
One thing that I thought was pretty interesting is you look at the Oakland D, and they're the third worst in pass defense this year. So you might look at Cleveland, but it's Cleveland. You're going to choose Josh McCown? I don't think so. Benjamin, he's only a deep threat. So, for a GPP, you might as well throw one in there just for the heck of it. But
he's not starting.
Who's that?
Nope.
Who? Benjamin?
No. We're having a Johnny Manziel. He's not starting.
Yeah, McCown. McCown starting.
Yeah. We're gonna have. Like I said, we jumped into time machine this week, fellas. We're going to have a McCown brothers sighting this week. We could have a Luke McCown start in New Orleans and the other McCown brother starting in Cleveland. It's pretty crazy.
That's funny.
Yep.
All right. So moving on to the next game, we got Indianapolis versus Tennessee. In this game, I feel kind of weird saying it, with Andrew Luck being the quarterback for Indianapolis, and he's supposed to be the best quarterback on earth, but I'm kind of fading this game. Tennessee's really tough against the pass. What do you guys think?
I actually like the Colts. It's a must-win game. They're obviously a playoff hopeful team. They haven't gotten off to a good start. I definitely see them having a bounce-back game here.
This is another one of those interdivisional rivalries. This game has always been close, year in and year out, and if my memory serves me correctly, this game is usually pretty high scoring because these two defenses have not, been historically known for shutting teams out, and we've seen so far this year they're definitely not. Again, I don't really like to go out of my way to target divisional games like this because they're so familiar with each other. It could be, a 9-6 game as much as it is a 52-45 or whatever. But there's nothing I would pick here out of a cash game. There's probably a few GPP plays though.
Yeah.
Okay, agreed. Moving on to Dallas versus Atlanta. What do you guys think about this one?
Man,
I kind of like Joseph Randle.
Yeah, I love Joseph Randle. I wish he was getting more of the bulk. I like Terrence Williams. He's been one of Brandon Whedon's favorite targets, favorite go-to guys.
Yeah, I just don't see taking that risk in a cash game. I don't know how many times the Cowboys are going to throw it. They have the second slowest pace in the NFL. As we saw from last week, all the penalties in the Dallas-Philly game. They just milked the clock, held on to the ball. At first, looking over the slate, I was like, Julio Jones. Who cares? Let's play him. He's Julio Jones. He's a man-child. He's a beast. He's still probably going to get his points, but I don't see him having the 30 point 20 point game that he's had the first 2 weeks, just because Dallas hangs on the ball so long.
Definitely. Dallas also plays that zone scheme where they don't give anything over the top. So if he's going to get his points, he's going to have to get a lot of receptions, which I don't see because it's going to be a slow-paced game.
Yep.
I agree. You're probably good for about 10 targets on Julio Jones. I just don't think you'll have the expectation to have the performance that he's had in the last 2 games. But Kyle, to your point, when you talked about Whedon and Williams, if you can get behind that, Atlanta's giving up over 300 yards per game in the air, so that's definitely something to look at. And again, Williams is priced pretty low, so he might be something you can fit into your lineup there.
Yeah, I mean they're obviously not going to be able to run the ball every play. They're going to have to pass quite a bit too. So definitely not an all-out fade on Whedon or Terrence Williams. But Joseph Randle, my favorite player from this game here.
Yeah, if we knew that he was going to get the bulk, he would be pretty much a must play against this Atlanta Falcons defense, who's bottom of the league versus the run. I still like him. I kind of think you would like to think with Tony Romo and Dez Bryant on the shelf, who else are they going to give the ball to? Jason Witten has like a ankle sprain, knee sprain, elbow sprain. I mean, he's sprained everything, but he's still he literally rubbed some dirt on it and got it back out there. So
yeah, that's not going to stop Witten.
No, it's not going to stop him from playing. But Joseph Randle who's their third down back? They bring in the passing game.
Lance Dunbar in
Dunbar.
PPR. Lance Dunbar.
Dunbar for DraftKings PPR. He's close to Minsal. So for a great GPP, if you want to fit some of those big, wide receivers in and a big, big name quarterback in a GPP, why not toss Lance Dunbar in there?
For sure.
Yeah, good point. All right, moving on. Next game we have is San Francisco versus Arizona. All right, guys, be easy on my 49ers here.
Everybody on the Cardinals. No, I like Carson Palmer, Larry Fitzgerald. They don't have a huge ceiling this week, but they're a great cash game play. They just got the floor. Palmer's just going to throw the ball every week. He's going to have 30 to 40 attempts. Fitzgerald's obviously his favorite target. He's going to get his looks. He's going to get points. Those two are just never going to let you down.
Yep. They have a very safe floor. Exactly. They are favored in this one, but I just don't see them, running the ball with Chris Johnson, CJ2K. Here we go, back in time again. It's crazy this week, man. I don't know what's going on, but I don't see them, being able to establish their run relying on Chris Johnson. Like I said, it's not the year 2000.
What about the other Johnson?
Dennis?
Yeah. Dude, how was he? He was like 15% owned last week. Wasn't even starting. Like, people just predicted he was going to return the punt.
Yeah. He returned a punt the first week. He returned a kickoff for a punt the first week. Why can't he do it every week? I mean,
yeah, exactly.
People rolled this guy out in cash games, and that's why we lost. I'll take that any day of the week. Actually, I saw that Adam Levitan tweeted out this morning that Dennis Johnson was not a good play in cash games, and it made sense. I mean, he doesn't get the bulk of the carries. He's not the the reliant back. He's just some athlete, special teams athlete that could hit big. And to me, that's got GPP written all over it. If I lose to those type of people who made those plays in cash, then by all means, people keep making those type of plays so I can win some cash next week. I'm ready to win some cash in some NFL. So keep making those plays. Keep rolling Dennis Johnson out in your cash games. I'm fading him. I'm going with the safety on Carson Palmer, like Kyle said. He's going to throw it. He's very efficient. He likes Larry Fitzgerald. You can pair them up. They're both cheap across the industry. So why not?
Cheap. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get why Carson Palmer's so cheap.
He's so reliant.
I'm definitely liking the Carson Palmer and the Fitzgerald combination there. I know a lot of people look at Fitzgerald and say that there's no way he's going to score 3 touchdowns again. And while you might be right, I also think that he's averaging 9 targets per game. So that's pretty good, especially considering the price that he's at. He's being looked at quite a bit. So it's pretty good value for the salary he has. One thing maybe to throw out in a GPP play is Colin Kaepernick got 335 yards passing last game, and he can also run the ball as well. They were down by quite a bit, so it was a lot of garbage time that he ended up getting that. But unfortunately, I kind of see that happening again this week. He could be in for some more garbage time. So in a GPP, he might be somebody you look at.
Tough D though.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. We have Chicago versus Seattle.
Man.
Russell Wilson, one of my favorite quarterback plays this week. If anybody was watching the game last week, I know I was hoping that Marshawn Lynch would do something. But it looks like the plan for the Seahawks is drop Russell back, hope he makes a play. I mean, that's what it looked like. It was so sloppy. But this Bears defense is terrible. They're not even comparable to the Packers. They're giving up, I think, top 3 most points against the quarterback. Russell Wilson's that dual threat. He can pass for touchdowns. He can run for touchdowns, and he's gonna be relied on a lot.
Yep, he makes for a great play. Their defense is pretty weak. I don't know. I'm not gonna speculate or predict game flow what they did, but I kind of think that if there ever was a bounce back week for Marshawn Lynch, this has got to be it. I hadn't actually looked at the Vegas over/unders until now, and I see Seattle's favored by 15 points. That might have a lot to do with one of the McCown brothers coming to town. So that makes oh yeah, no, I'm sorry, not McCown. He's not there anymore. Who is it? Clausen, Jimmy Clausen. That's even worse. Yeah. So that makes the Seattle defense the #1 defense in cash games this week. They're going to be super high owned. If Jay Cutler is out and Clausen does suit up, fire up the defense. And in that case, if they're going to build a lead, they're just going to lean on Lynch. So if Clausen's in and they're going to have the lead, then that makes Lynch a great play, in my opinion. The Chicago defense, let's see, versus running backs. I know they're league bottom. I want to see exactly where they are. Bottom 6 versus running backs.
Also, another thing about the Seahawks, dude, just to reassure that they're the top play, Cam Chancellor's coming back.
Yes, he is. Cam Chancellor's back. It's a must-win for them. They're 0-2. Their 16th man, whatever, is going to be fired. 12th man. 12th man is going to be fired up. I was thinking soccer for a second.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I love some Doug Baldwin also. What about you guys?
Marty?
I think just at his price. I mean, I think he's so low. And there's in order to score quite a bit, they're going to have to look his way. So with the amount of salary he's at and the targets that he's been getting, I think it's a really good play.
Yeah, Chicago, one of the worst pass defenses in the league. Doug Baldwin is Russell Wilson's favorite target. He's also got that potential to bring back a kick.
Yeah. Then,
does he return punts for them?
I know he was returning kicks in week 1. I'm not sure about the punts. I think it's Ricardo Lockett now.
Yeah, it's Lockett. That's what I thought. Lockett.
Yeah, and then one other thing to touch on, Pat, you were talking about a bounce-back game for Lynch, but I also think this could be a bounce-back game for Jimmy Graham as well. He only had 1 catch last game. He is a red zone target as well. They haven't really used him as much yet this season, but we all know he's a great red zone target. And they're going to be putting up some points. And he's been kind of in the media talking about his role in the team. So I think this could be a game where he kind of turns things around and puts up some pretty decent numbers.
Yeah, I like Jimmy Graham as well. I really think they're going to try to get him more involved after he came out to the press, said he didn't like his role with the team.
Absolutely.
I could see Drew Brees texting Russell Wilson too. Like, what the hell are you doing? Passing to Jimmy Graham? What is wrong with you?
Yeah, he hadn't got a whole lot of targets. He's kind of upset about it. I don't know what's been going on. Their offensive line doesn't look that great, but against this Bears defense, man, I didn't like it at first, but the more and more I look at it, the more and more I fall in love with Marshawn Lynch again this week.
All right, let's move on. We got Miami and Buffalo. Pat, you like anybody from the Miami side?
Yeah, on DraftKings, Buffalo's defense is very very good versus the run. Ryan Tannehill and the Dolphins are gonna have to pass the ball, and that makes Landry one of my favorite cash game plays on DraftKings, where it's full point PPR. Yeah, he also returns kicks, so he has the chance and that upside to put up a huge game without scoring a touchdown. So
Target.
very high target monster. So he has a very safe floor with a high ceiling as well. He's one of my favorite cash game wide receivers, just about in and out every week. So fire him up.
I could definitely see some merit to using some Ryan Tannehill as well. Like you said, the Buffalo D is so good against the run. They're going to have to pass the ball if they want to do anything. He's definitely not one of my favorite plays, but he's in play for me.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely on the Tannehill-Landry combo there. All right, anything else from this game?
What about some Ty God Taylor?
Well, I know that.
I haven't had the hype on him all year. Not going to now.
Yeah.
The one thing I'd say is that I know that the Miami defense is giving up over 142 yards per game on the run, and McCoy is kind of injured. He has a hamstring issue. I'm not sure if he'll be playing or not, but Tyrod will probably be finding some opportunity to run the ball a little bit. So I don't like him for a cash game, but in GPP, he's again another low salary. He'll be good to put in your lineup and then find some value at other places.
Yeah, McCoy actually looked great last week. I watched a few of the highlights from that game. He looked spry as ever. So
he did.
Yeah, he looks healthy. He looks quick. He's making cuts. He is doing that frustrating, side to side running and not running full steam. But who else did that? It was Barry Sanders. So all it takes is a couple missed tackles and he's taking one to the house. So I wouldn't be opposed to rolling Tyrod and McCoy out together because they have been running a little bit of read option as well. You're seeing a lot of that in the NFL these days. So roll them out in a GPP. Why not?
All right, and then moving on to some of the juicier games on the slate here, we've got Denver versus Detroit. What do you guys like about this game?
Love me some Emmanuel Sanders. It's one of my favorite cash game plays in the NFL. He just gets so many targets.
So many targets. He has super high ceiling as well. Does he still return kicks for them? I know he did last year.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, he's another Landry, but with I think a higher floor. In that Denver offense, that should be a little bit better than they are. I got to think that they're going to get their offensive line woes kind of squared away. I'd really like to see them start letting Ronnie Hillman run the ball a little bit more because I think he's a little bit better of a pass catcher than C.J. Anderson. So that way they could run a little no huddle and go faster.
Detroit also one of the worst teams against pass.
They are, and I've seen a lot of teams key in on Demaryius Thomas with double coverage. So that leaves Emmanuel Sanders plays a lot of it. He runs a lot of his routes out of the slot. A lot of teams put linebackers on the slot receivers, so Emmanuel Sanders will eat them alive.
Yeah, on the Denver side of the ball, I mean, you've got Emmanuel Sanders is second in the league in targets, and Demaryius Thomas is third in the league in targets. So obviously, those two guys are being targeted quite a bit. And I don't know if you guys saw the last game for the Broncos. The first quarter, Manning looked horrible, and I was actually saying to myself, he's done. He's got nothing left. And he ended up throwing, I don't know how many yards, but he ended up having a pretty solid game. And all that pretty much came in three quarters, So, so in that time, Sanders and Thomas got a lot of targets. So, I know Detroit's is difficult, but I don't see them winning this with the run game. I think they're going to have to find a way to pass, and they got two great receivers to choose from here.
The thing about what you said, I kind of thought that myself too. I went back and watched the game though. The velocity's still there. He's still got an arm. He just looked uncomfortable in that offense. I think week 3 now he's going to have a better grasp on the offense. I'm looking to see more of the old vintage Peyton Manning here.
Yeah. That's a good point. That is a new offense for him. The offensive line, same guys he had last year. They were a great line last year. Maybe they're adjusting to that as well. That kind of looks to be what is the problem there because they have not created any running holes for the running backs. Last year, C.J. Anderson came on late in the year, and they were able to establish the run game that left Peyton Manning in the passing game wide open. So maybe they'll get that ship righted. With that being said, their best part of their game right now looks to be the passing game, Emmanuel Sanders and Demaryius Thomas.
Yeah, and also don't forget that game was a Thursday night game, and now they have the Sunday night game. So you give Peyton Manning a couple extra days to game plan and to get things right. He'll definitely take advantage of it.
Yeah.
On the Detroit side of the ball, I'm really liking some Eric Ebron. His price on a couple sites is very, very low. He is one of the most. He got 15 targets last week. He's one of the most targeted tight ends. Matt Stafford has been shown that he is turnover prone and is not a reliable, consistent quarterback. But I think he's found a pretty safe safety blanket in Eric Ebron. And we've seen a lot of this in the NFL with first-year tight ends coming in and thinking that they're going to be superstars and not really establishing themselves until the second year. I think Gronk being the exception, but you see a guy like Tyler Eifert came in last year, was supposed to be a great tight end. He's blowing up this year. Eric Ebron, he had a lot of hype on him last year. He's doing well this year. So I think with him, that learning curve, him learning the offense there in Detroit, I think he makes for a great play with his price around the industry.
Yeah, another point there.
Did we lose Kyle?
I think we might have lost you there, Kyle. So hopefully I'm not stealing your thunder here. But one thing I was going to point out is that the Denver defense, is only giving up about 135 yards per game in the pass. So I can see this a game where they're really going to focus on Calvin Johnson, trying to shut him down, which could, then open up for more opportunities for Ebron. So this could be another game where he ends up with a lot of targets.
Yep. Full point PPR side, you want those targets, want those receptions. It's 3.3K on DraftKings, makes for a great play in my opinion.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Looks like we lost Kyle, but I'm sure he'll want to jump back in when he gets back out at Denver and Detroit. Kyle, you there?
Did my audio go out again, or did you guys hear what I said?
We couldn't hear you, but we can hear you now.
All right, another point to make about Eric Ebron, if we're still on that game, is you got Aqib Talib on Megatron. They're obviously going to give over-the-top help there. And then on the other side, you guys laughing because you heard me, or?
No, that's kind of what Marty touched on. He said he didn't want to steal your thunder, but that's exactly kind of what he said, more or less.
Oh, yeah. And then on the other side of the ball, you got Chris Harris on Golden Tate, who's another solid cornerback. You got nobody else to go to besides Eric Ebron. He's going to eat up them targets.
Yep. This big athletic guy, 3.3K on DraftKings. And I've been going back through a lot of the winning lineups, that are in the top, middle, and bottom of the, men cashing and cash games and guys that are just blowing it out. In a site like DraftKings where you have to play one tight end, but then you've got a flex spot. Marty touched on this earlier with Gronk, kind of thinking about him as a wide receiver. I've seen a lot of teams, hitting the 200s and even 250 score on DraftKings. You're talking, GPP winning status there, 5 points per $1,000 in your salary. Having two tight ends in the lineup where you punt one, put an Eric Ebron in your tight end spot at 3.3K, and then that allows you to get a high-end guy like Gronk, who is potentially, a great wide receiver play at 7.4K on DraftKings. And if you think of it that way, that's great value on two guys that, yes, they do play the tight end position, but those guys get targeted like wide receivers.
That's a really great point. I saw the same thing. A lot of the top lineups are definitely using 2 tight ends on DraftKings, so I'd definitely look at that. Trying to see how you can fit two of the best ones you possibly can in those 2 spots.
They're just great discounts.
Yeah. All right, we're getting to the last game on the slate here. Just one more time to remind you guys, if you have any questions, there should be a little box in the upper right-hand corner. Kind of looks like a Rubik's Cube. That's our Q&A. Click on that, throw in some questions. We'll be happy to answer them as soon as we're done here. All right, let's get to the last game of the slate. We have Kansas City versus Green Bay. Hey, Kyle, is there anything that you like from this game?
Yeah, I like some Randall Cobb. If you look at the Kansas City defensive rankings, they've been giving up a lot of passing yards. I think they're bottom 5 at least. I remember them being pretty bad. And then if you look further into depth in this game, they've been killed by the slot every week. So I love some Randall Cobb.
Yep. You go back to, like you said, the Denver game, Kansas City. That was a Thursday night game, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Who scored 2 touchdowns in that game?
Sanders.
Where does he run his routes out of?
Slot.
The slot. Yes, sir. Cobb operates most of his routes out of the slot. That's good info to know. I know those kind of things because I'm not an NFL expert, but I follow some on Twitter. So Cobb, he's one of he's one of Aaron Rodgers' favorite targets. I know he likes James Jones in the red zone, but he's got the history with Cobb. He's the best receiver left on that team. Kansas City's run defense is pretty stingy as of right now. Eddie Lacy's still nursing that ankle injury. We do not know if he's going to suit up yet or not. As of right now, it looks like he's
likely going to play.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to try to play. So that leaves me off the Green Bay running game. Even though they're favored by a few points, that just tells me they're going to come out, spread it out, air it out, fire up Randall Cobb. On the other side of the ball, the Green Bay defense has given up about 100 yards per game rushing, and the only guy that the Chiefs use in the backfield, guys, I mean,
Jamal Charles, great play. Yeah. Great cash game play as well. He gets so many targets and passes out of the backfield. I think it was up over 30 touches last week if you include targets and carries.
Yeah, targets, carries. He's a great PPR back. I mean, him and Le'Veon Bell are about the same price. That's one of my toughest decisions of the week in cash games. Charles or Bell. Just depending on salary construction and who I can fit in, you can't go wrong with either. You could play them both if you punt quarterback or wide receiver and tight end. But, man, he makes for a very safe, high volume, great play.
Definitely. They love going to him in the red zone as well. I mean, last year he had multiple games where he scored 3 touchdowns. I think he even scored 4 in one game.
Yeah, definitely.
What about some Travis Kelce here, guys?
Yeah, initially when I looked at that, on FanDuel, he's pretty cheap in my opinion. 6,400 is not too bad, considering the amount of volume that he probably will be getting in this scenario. I like him. He's turned into Alex Smith's favorite receiver. We know that Alex Smith hates wide receivers and does not like throwing touchdowns to him. So, Kelsey's probably your better target when you're looking at touchdowns. So, I kind of like him this week.
Yeah, I think there are better options. I mean, he's a great play. I'm not going to go out of my way and roster him in cash, but like you said, he's Alex Smith's safety blanket. He does not like throwing to his wide receivers, but they're actually the Packers are favored in this game by 6.5. It looks like. So I don't know. You don't want to predict game flow, but you got to think they're going to want to try to get Jamal Charles the ball as much as possible.
Right.
It's about time for a new computer, boys.
I think so.
I'm going to start a GoFundMe account.
You read my mind. I was just gonna ask you to do that.
I'm on it right now, man. Let's see. What is Green Bay's defense versus the run? Actually, I think they're worse against the run than they are the pass. Because I know they got a couple good safeties in Clinton Dix.
They don't give a lot of they don't give a lot of run yards, but they do give a lot of fantasy points to running backs. Just because week 1, obviously, they got killed by the Philadelphia running backs catching the ball out of the backfield.
Yeah, look at this. 97 rush yards allowed, which is still pretty good. Not a whole lot of backs rush for close to 100 yards, but 50 receiving yards allowed per game. So with a diverse back like Jamal Charles who can run the ball and catch it out of the backfield, man, rolling out.
I love some Charles.
Fire him up.
Definitely. All right, guys, that's about it for our slate. Anything that you guys want to point out maybe we didn't cover before we get into the Q&A?
I got quite a few questions here.
Okay.
What percentage will Brady be owned?
I can actually see him being very highly owned.
Yeah, me too. He's a great cash game play. He's obviously going to put up 20, 25 points every week. I could see around 20, 30%.
A lot of people still have the stigma and the mindset that you've got to get a great quarterback, but so far the first couple of weeks in NFL, they just don't get a whole lot of points. I mean, they get 1/10 of a point per 10 passing yards.
Yeah. They got to get the touchdowns to do anything really.
You have to have a quarterback. I know in DraftKings, if they throw for over 300 yards, you get a 3-point bonus. So you really have to have a quarterback throw for over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns to really, put you in a GPP winning status. But for a cash game, I don't mind paying down at quarterback so I can get those safe running backs, the safe, highly targeted wide receivers that I know are going to get at least 1 touchdown, maybe 2.
Yeah, I think the value is between quarterbacks is not too different. I mean, even if Brady puts up 30 points, I mean, there's some low dollar value quarterbacks that'll put up at least 20, but it'll allow you to put guys in your lineup like Brown and other guys that will receivers that will get you 15 to 20 points. And instead of having the flip side of it, going with Brady, then you have to go with some lower valued receivers who may only get you 10 or less. So I think it's a better value doing that.
Yep.
All right, next question. How do you guys approach single entry GPP? Good plays for that type of GPP.
Single entry?
Yeah, personally, for single entry, I attack them the same way I would as cash. I just play my favorite plays.
Yep.
Agreed.
Yep, because each week when we're making a cash game play, we are trying to optimize our lineups with guys that have the biggest chance. They get the most opportunities, targets, touches, to have a big game, to get touchdowns. So if I'm rolling out one lineup in a GPP, it's going to be the same lineup that I use in cash. And I know a lot of people kind of hedge with different lineups in order to get exposure to different games. It's not a bad idea. It's something I toyed around with last week. But one thing that I also toyed around with is playing a lot of head-to-heads. I like to play one cash game lineup, and the variance, if you play a lot of different head-to-heads, is so crazy. Like I think the cash line on DraftKings last week was around 135. But some of my head-to-head, I think our lineup ended up putting around 114 or something like that. And some of my head-to-heads, I actually ended up winning. So even though we had Romo and Tevin Coleman, get carted off, and our cash dreams and hopes of cash land kind of went down the drain with the ambulance, I still actually cut my losses by winning some of my head-to-heads because a lot of people that picked them up just made terrible decisions. So.
Yeah, I think I started to play a lot more head-to-head this year than I did last year, and one of the things that I really like about it is if you don't have the best week on say a 50-50, you're not going to win any money. If you're playing one cash lineup, you're not going to win any money. However, if you don't have the greatest week in head-to-heads, well, chances are there's going to be some people that have a worse lineup than you, so you can still recoup some of your money back. And if you have a good week, you're going to beat a lot of people in head-to-head, so you're gonna come out way ahead.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Next question. Do you guys recommend stacking players from one game and maybe adding another player from another game? Personally, I do not. I won't go further than maybe playing a quarterback and a receiver together, or a receiver with the defense if the receiver returns kicks. Unlike baseball, there's only so many touches to go around, as where baseball, everybody gets their 4 or 5 at-bats. Football is not the same way, so I stay away from stacking players.
Yeah, and NFL is a different story. It's tough to predict game flow. This is actually a theory that has worked very well for me in college football, because a lot of these teams, they don't have, one standout receiver. A lot of college teams will have a lot of good players that are better than the team that they're playing that week. Teams like Washington State and Texas A&M that throw the ball, even Memphis. Memphis has so many different guys that they pass the ball to and let run the ball. So in college, I actually do that quite a bit. But NFL, that's not a very sound strategy. In NFL, you're wanting to get so much different exposure to as many different games as possible, because as we saw with the Philadelphia Cowboys game, the Eagles-Cowboys game last week, which we all thought was supposed to be a shootout, ended up being a low-scoring snooze fest. So I actually had a lot of exposure to that game, and that turned around to bite me. So you spread it out, get as much exposure to different scenarios as you can.
Yeah, I feel like if you stack any more than 2 players, you're strictly looking at it from a GPP standpoint. There's too much risk involved doing that. I like the quarterback, wide receiver stack, and maybe the running back and defense stack, but other than that, I won't really look at anything else.
Yeah, you kind of limit your floor that way.
Yeah.
The only stack that I do like a lot is the punt returner defense stack. The Jarvis Landry, Miami Dolphins, Emmanuel Sanders, Denver Broncos, because that's a double touchdown stack. Other than that,
yeah. Moving on, Gio Bernard, and why is he better than Jeremy Hill now? Jeremy Hill's just fighting to get too many extra yards. He has a fumbling problem dating back to last year.
Yeah, he put the ball on the ground twice in one game, and I think it was like 5 times in his last 3 or 4 games. You're going to have some issues.
Yeah.
2 years ago, before the Bengals drafted Jeremy Hill, Giovanni Bernard was their starting back, and he was explosive. He doesn't have the size or the power that Jeremy Hill does, but he's elusive, he's quick, he's fast, he can break big runs, and he catches the ball in the backfield. So as long as he's not fumbling, he makes for a great play. When Hill came in, he was supposed to be there, the thunder and lightning kind of deal, but Gio is still Gio. He's still a great running back. He could be a starting running back on any team.
Yeah. Steel Dogs says, I need to know about Todd Gurley.
Todd Gurley.
So do I.
Yeah, still kind of unknown. Kind of using the wait and see approach. If he gets a lot of carries one week, and that's how it's going to be moving forward, I could definitely see using some Todd Gurley, but you just don't know what's going on there.
Jeff Fisher is typically very hesitant to roll out one back and to trust him. I think they're kind of ease him in. They're not just kind of just throw him out there to the wolves, but you could see a Trey Mason taking over Zach Stacy kind of story that we've seen in the past. If Gurley does come in and he looks explosive, the feature back in that offense with a decent offensive line and a quarterback like Nick Foles, who is prone to turnovers, if you're playing season long, he's somebody that you definitely want to own and have on your bench. He's kind of a wait and see in DFS.
Moving on, or
yeah, I got a question here. What do you guys see as the best combo, 2-player combo this week, whether it be quarterback, wide receiver, or whatnot? What do you think is the best combo here?
the quarterback receiver combo?
Or just any combo?
Quarterback receiver combo, I like Russell Wilson and Doug Baldwin. going against one of the worst pass defenses.
I like them. Also like Carson Palmer and Larry Fitzgerald. Ryan Fitzpatrick and Brandon Marshall.
Yeah.
It's tough to nail down one. I'm probably not on the Seahawks as much after seeing that over-under. And with their defense, I think their defense is actually going to put up some points this week versus Jimmy Clausen. So I think they're going to get out to a big lead and just rely on Marshawn Lynch, guys. I don't know.
If they start running the ball, though, I could definitely see Russell Wilson getting some carries in there, too. They're going to run that read option.
Yep.
All right, and maybe the last question we have here, but it doesn't pertain to week 3 too much, but how do you guys go about your spreading out your cash games? Are you more 50-50s? Are you more head-to-heads?
Yeah, that's kind of what we were talking about earlier. In the past, I've been all strictly 50-50s with some, multipliers like, quins and, triple up, stuff like that mixed in. But after, kind of saving my ass last week and cashing in a few head-to-heads, I think I'm about to roll out a bunch of head-to-heads. And from what I saw, if you create your own and don't go pick some up, because I know a lot of people are scared, well, what if I'm picking up a head-to-head versus a shark versus somebody, who knows what they're doing? The variance is so high that it really doesn't matter. But if you create your own head-to-heads, those guys, the Roto Grinders or the Adam Levitans or whoever, those guys don't really go out and scoop up head-to-heads. They kind of create their own. So I would be actually more willing to, let's say if I was going to play $50, creating 10 different $5 head-to-heads and just throwing those out there in the lobby for people to pick them up and just seeing what happens because the variance on those is so high.
Yeah, me personally, I'm more of a 50-50 guy. Kind of stay away from the head-to-heads unless, I want a challenge, of somebody else with a big name or whatever it is. If I can't win in the 50-50s, I don't deserve to win that week.
I kind of split it up half and half, half head-to-heads and half 50-50, because I definitely want to see how I, a good gauge, to see where your lineup is. 50-50, if you cash, you're in the top 50% of the field. But if your variance in a head-to-head, like say, my lineup last week was right outside the cash line, or I guess 20 points outside the cash line. But it fell. If you still want to know where it was, in variance to the rest of the field, I beat about 35% of my head-to-heads. So that puts my lineup in the 35th percentile. So it kind of gives you a good gauge of where you went wrong. You get to see if you do get paired with some of those sharks, you get to see kind of what they did and reverse engineer their lineups and kind of learn from that. So there's merit to playing both. So I kind of split it half and half.
Yeah, I pretty much keep the 50-50s and the double-ups to be pretty much about the same. The cash line are usually pretty similar, and if I have a good enough lineup, it should cash them both. And then I've been doing a lot more head-to-heads. And you're right, sometimes you go up against a shark and they have put in a great lineup, even though you had a great lineup as well. But I'll also put in some triple-ups and maybe some quints as well, because that'll more than make up for any of the losses that I'll have in the head-to-heads.
All right, moving on to the next question. The benching of Johnny Football, increase or decrease your opinion of putting Travis Benjamin in your lineup this week? I'm not really on Travis Benjamin, especially for cash. He's more of a GPP play. He did have a big game last week, but if you look at his targets, he didn't get very many.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had about 150 yards, I believe, through the air, which is great, but it was only off of 4 targets, so that's not something you can count on every game.
Exactly. Last question I have: Antonio Brown, Julio Jones, Odell Beckham. Who underperforms their prices?
I agree, Julio Jones.
I agree.
He's the highest priced, and I'm not taking him just because he's the highest priced. Just based off watching Dallas the first 2 weeks, they just like to go at a snail's pace and keep the ball out of the other opponent's hands, and that's got to be their strategy going against Matt Ryan and Julio Jones. You definitely don't want that tandem to have the ball very much of the game.
All right, guys. I think that's going to about wrap it up for us.
That's it?
That's it. Yeah. We're trying to keep it short. Last time we ran about an hour and a half, so we're trying to keep it to about an hour this time. But if you guys have any other questions, feel free to hit us up on Twitter. My handle is mlanglo. That's MLANGLO. Kyle's is at DFS_whiz_Kyle, and Pat's at DFS_whizp. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to hit us up on there. Please take a look at the videos now posted on YouTube. Will be posted up within the next couple of minutes, so please share with your friends.
Guys, I just got a tweet saying no favorite plays this week. That's why I've been waiting. That's what I've been waiting for.
Oh.
Okay.
You guys want to do that?
Yeah.
All right. Starting with quarterback. Who do you guys like?
Ooh.
I'm going to go Carson Palmer. I saw what he did against the 49ers last week, and I've known that the 49ers have horrible cornerbacks going into it. They have great safeties, but they really got exposed in their cornerback play last week. And, I think that Palmer had a great game against Chicago. I think he's going to have another great game this week as well.
I'm going to go with Cam Newton against the dreadful Saints defense. Dual threat.
I'm going to go to I want to throw it to wide receiver, and I'm going to go to Brandon Marshall.
We're doing quarterbacks, Pat. Who's your favorite quarterback?
He took my quarterback, Carson Palmer. Man, if you're playing on FanDuel or Yahoo, man, I know you guys kind of scoffed at it, but I really I know Kyle threw out Teddy Bridgewater. I like him, and I like Nick Foles as well as a salary saver.
I like Nick Foles too.
Yeah, going against Pittsburgh's secondary is the worst in the league. So if you guys wanted to stack, great wide receivers and great running backs in your cash game, which I think is a great play, I think Nick Foles against that terrible defense of the Steelers is a great play.
Yeah, agreed. Moving on to running back, who do you guys like?
I'll go with my man Danny Woodhead. His price on DraftKings at $4,400. It's a full point PPR site. 60% of red zone carries. I mean, with those kind of opportunities, sign me up.
Marty?
I'm going to go the easy way out here and take Le'Veon Bell. I just think No, I really like him quite a bit in this game. Especially seeing how bad St. Louis has been on the defensive side of the ball against the run. Le'Veon Bell's got some fresh legs. I think he's going to have a monster game here.
I'm going to go with Joseph Randle here. He's got a great matchup. They obviously have a great offensive line. And I really think they rely more on the run here with no Tony Romo, no Des Bryant, and a banged-up Jason Witten.
I have a question for you two experts. If you are on a site like DraftKings and you're looking at the top of the running back pool, you have Adrian Peterson in a good matchup at 7,500, Le'Veon Bell in a good matchup at 7,500, Marshawn Lynch in a great matchup at 7,400, and Jamal Charles in a great matchup at 7,400. Who do you play?
I'm going to stick with my pick and say Bell.
Yeah, I'm picking Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah, if it's on DraftKings full point PPR, I mean, I might try to roll out two of them, but
Jamal Charles for PPR.
Yeah, Bell as well. He catches the ball out of the backfield. So, like I said, build your roster. If you have 7,400 left, plug in Jamal Charles. If you have 7,500 left, plug in Le'Veon Bell. You can't go wrong with either one. If you want to get some variance and play a couple different lineups, play Bell in half your lineups, play Jamal Charles in half your lineups, play Adrian Peterson in a few lineups.
Adrian Peterson will be the more low-owned guy, I think, if you guys want to go with the low-owned guy.
Yeah. It's tough. That's a tough call on all those guys.
Yeah.
Wide receiver.
Pat, I think you like Brandon Marshall. Is that right?
I like him. Okay.
I think we all love Brandon Marshall, so nobody gets him. 3 other receivers.
All right. I'm going for DraftKings full point PPR. I'm going Jarvis Landry with his price and his floor for cash games. I'm going Jarvis Landry for GPP. I like Julian Edelman.
Marty?
It's tough. I really like this Denver matchup. Haven't really figured out if I like Sanders or Thomas more from a FanDuel standpoint. I think if I was on DraftKings, I'd like Sanders more. But I just think there's so many targets that they're going to get in this game, and it's going to be passing a lot. I think either one of them is going to be a great play this week.
I agree. I'm going to go with a low-dollar guy and Michael Crabtree. I love him this week. Like we said earlier, Amari Cooper is going to get Joe Hayden. Michael Crabtree is going to eat them targets up. He's going to have another game like we called for Eric Decker last week, who got all the targets.
Yep. We're looking at tight end.
Nobody can pick Gronk either.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a lot of great ones this week. We kind of talked about the 3 or 4 of them that we liked anyways, but on the low end, you got Eric Ebron. We talked about him quite a bit. I think it's going to be another good matchup, especially we talked about Calvin Johnson will probably be guarded by Talib, and that'll leave Ebron wide open for some targets and some catches. I think with his salaries. I think it's a great play to help you fit in great players at other positions.
I already expressed my love for Nick Foles. Nick Foles' favorite target. Nick Foles' favorite target is Jared Cook. He got the most targets, the most receptions, the most receiving touchdowns on the Rams. And let's see, who are they playing again? The Steelers. They have allowed the most receiving touchdowns to tight ends so far this year. Jared Cook is minimum price for tight ends around the industry. I love him.
You guys just made this really tough on me, but I'm gonna go Jimmy Graham for a bounce back week.
Yeah, good call.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Cool. Well,
Defense. We're not doing kicker. Defense.
Yeah, I hate kicker. For me, probably stealing this from you guys again, but Jets D, just so low priced again, and I think they're just in a great matchup where they're going to be able to take advantage of some turnovers, just with their salary, I mean, you're able to fit in almost anything once you have the Jets in your lineup.
I'm not going to go chalk here and say the Seahawks. I actually like one of the defenses who has been creating some turnovers along with the Jets, and that's the Patriots at home versus the Jaguars. I know I said earlier to roll out Jaguars in GPP. That's straight up garbage time. Just as easily as Blake Bortles and Allen Robinson could combine for a couple touchdowns in garbage time, the Patriots defense could combine for a pick 6 or 2 in garbage time. So let's go with the Patriots defense.
Yeah, obviously the Seahawks is chalk. I'm not going to go with them. I'm going to be a homer here, and I'm going to take my Vikings at home. Their defensive scheme I just love. They looked great last week. Playing against San Diego, not the greatest matchup, but that defense, I love them.
Damn right that's not a great matchup. Danny Woodhead's going to tear them apart.
No.
Somebody likes Danny Woodhead. All right, guys. I think anything else before we wrap it up?
That's it for me.
That's it for me as well. Go out there and win some money, fellas. Don't take our word for it. Go do your own research. RotoGrinders is a great spot. NFL.com has a lot of great statistics. ESPN, I found today, has all the stats laid out from each team, receptions per game and targets as well. So there's a lot. All the resources are out there, guys. Go find your favorite plays and win yourself some money.
Yeah, and hopefully you guys got some nuggets out of there that they'll take into your lineup construction for this week. And if you have any questions or want any feedback, just feel free to hit us up on Twitter. Again, my handle is @MLANGLO. We got Kyle at DFS_WizKyle. We got Pat at DFS_WizP. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to hit us up. Thanks for watching, and this is us signing off.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.